Hey folks, Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into our program, let's thank the folks that make this possible. First and foremost, we are made possible by the amazing patrons over on Patreon. These heroic individuals give freely of their time and money and basically lever me to make sure as much of what I do is laid out for you guys. I keep trying to make Patreon exclusives. They keep telling me, no, that's not what you do. Make it public. So I keep doing it because they are that good. We are, of course, made possible by a generous donation from the indiecd.org. That's the Independent Creator Directory, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest. And sales of... Well, that's not what we're talking about sales of. We will be talking about that in a minute, though. The Simple Sword, The Fighting Axe, and The Simple Spear, my ongoing series of books dedicated to helping you learn to fight safely. Each one is based around a specific weapon or style, all building on the previous to give you a solid base of understanding of martial arts, a vocabulary that people from different traditions can come together despite what the maneuvers may be called, find common ground, and then discuss what they do. The Historical Fencing Guild was founded to do a few things. Firstly, it is meant to be a middle ground, a meeting point between styles and artists where folks of different disciplines and organizations can come together with limited friction. There'll always be some good-natured ribbing, but as equals or at least as comrades, to exchange ideas, to stress test what they do against other styles so that you end up escaping the echo chamber of only dealing with people who spar and train in a specific style. What this creates are more well-rounded, more educated, and more conversational fighters. Because martial arts training is about improving yourself, improving others, learning, building confidence, and then the practicalities of hopefully achieving a measure of self-defense. And we will be getting into what that is and isn't a bit today, because I had some great commentary that I found online and some things that I wanted to discuss. We will have a slight gear update that is tantalizing me, and I'm looking very forward to getting into that. And we'll have whatever is being discussed or requested by our chat. If you are new to this and you're catching this chat, please feel comfortable if you see this on Facebook or on YouTube to get in and leave your chat. If you're watching this on Twitter, please move over to YouTube where I can see and hear your commentary, because I want to be able to respond. Unfortunately, right now, StreamYard, which is the system I use to stream to you, is not functioning through Twitter in a way that I can receive your commentary. Pardon my background. My world is in a bit of flux right now, and we may or may not get into that. We'll probably talk about it lightly. But I want to just kind of make all the comments and make sure everybody knows where we are and greet folks and get on with the day. So, as you can see, huge thanks to Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis, Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Steve Augusto. Those wonderful folks are the souls that keep this channel, and incidentally, the Nevermind the Furthermore, floating. IndieCD.org is ran by, let me put the Patreon one up, but IndieCD.org is ran by Joe Bachman, who has done so much for me that there really aren't words, and I can't really express the level of gratitude I have to both the Bachmans. And we'll get into that too. So let's get into that. Last time we met was, I believe, right before the practice, the Historical Fencing Guild opening for the Gary Chicago. I said it wrong again. Gary Shakespeare. Why do I just want to say Gary Chicago? Gary Shakespeare Company at Twin Oaks Park. And it was a big success. We do have videos. I have seen them of some of the content that Joe Bachman was good enough to give me. He sent it to me through the what is it, One PC or whatever. I can see them. It is not letting me download out of that for some idiotic reason. So as soon as I can pull those out, I will let you guys see some footage of yours truly and Joe Bachman and Trelena Bachman squaring off, as well as a fan favorite Richie Asplund, doing some light sparring and answering some questions and talking about things. It was a very good time. Fortunately, Joe had some angles that Amanda didn't, so I was able to cut some of the crowd blocking issues out. But it did work out well, and we will be having practices again starting. I don't have my thing. One second, I have to yell at my memory for a moment. Starting regular practices in September again, after Labor Day. We have Labor Day weekend, and we have LibraryCon / FezCon that we run, so we have to attend. Being a place where if you go September 9th to the Benton County Public Library in lovely Fowler, Indiana at 102 North Huron Street, or is it Avenue? I think it's street. Anyway, North Huron in Fowler, you can come out and see us from 10 till 2, where we'll be selling books. I'll be signing books, answering questions, possibly doing on-site art. I've been known to do that. As well as some really great authors and artists I know. So please come down there for that. And then after that, we're going to start having practices over here, and there will be recorded sparring sessions, and we will be testing things people want tested and crafting and all that good stuff. I want to get back in the saddle as my health and the facilities will be both in a place, hopefully, to do just that. We are currently dealing with a plumbing disaster of sorts, where we knew we had a leak in one of the drains. We didn't know that it looked like a sizable axe wound and may involve having to chip out concrete and things to get everything fixed. So there are some, shall we say, challenges that we are dealing with currently. That would be part of why I haven't had people over, because we couldn't find the source of said leak. But with that and a few other things, my oven having gone gunny bag and getting replaced, we'll be able to hold practices again. They may not be lavish affairs, but they will be functional. And I am really looking forward to getting some sparring in. I've got the new gear that I think I found a good balance for my lighter weight sparring gear. And with that, I'm hoping to be able to get into some older styles I used to fight. I'm actually trying to pull back into some stuff I haven't trained in decades in, which brings us to this right here. Now, you guys think you've seen this. The problem is you haven't. You've not seen this. This has never appeared on camera before, because you've seen this one. So this means I have two, they would be called safes. And what these are going to allow me to do, because they have very nice grip retention and alternate options, assuming I can build up the musculature to keep it going, I can go back to one of my oldest two-weapon fighting styles. And much to the chagrin of, I've got it written down here. Yes. No, I don't. You shall. Oh. Anyway, I'll have to write that down because I tried to write it to pronounce it, and I can't get my tongue to pronounce it right now. But for our dear friend Johnny Cage, I may in fact be going full Driz, but far more Zaknafine, because Zaknafine is far superior to Driz in style, at least. Plus, Driz uses those enchanted bracelets and anklets and things. That's cheeky. But, so I will be able to use those with great effect. I had planned to run some videos, but they, like I said, they aren't quite working right. So I may have to reach out to Joe Bachman for advice on how to get the dang things to come down where I can air them, or find a workaround, which I may be able to do. However, I've been unable to be in the house because while they were fixing the pipe and working on it today, they kicked up a lot of dust and other things that I'm dreadfully allergic to. So I had to be out of the home. I may have to be out of the home again when they come back. This is kind of scary berries, but we're going to figure it out, okay? With all that being said, and these guys are available through Amazon. I don't have an affiliate link, but PHA has similar weaponry, and I'm a big fan of PHA. I got these as part of a deal. We're moving forward. This is not seems a rather apocalyptic to have one's pipes burst or drain crack and oven crack and cars break down. However, this is actually basically scheduled this time of year, always about 2 weeks before my birthday. In that range, something known as the Effening happens, and doom descends upon Tuckernam. This is normal. I endure it, and it's fine, and we'll all will be well in the long run. I have seen this before. But before I go any farther into anything else I'm doing or saying, let's hit up the commentary and see what you guys have to say, because I am way behind. Let's see. First through the gate at 7:45 is Thesis with Evening Sword Family. Evening Thesis, I hope you're doing well. And followed by Cindy Kep. Howdy. Howdy, Cindy Kep. Please, please, please tell folks about what your good news that you were talking about this morning, about what you're in training for. I am so very excited about it, but I want to make sure all the details are right, because we want to really pull and root for you, because it's very cool what you're doing. And yes, tune into the Historical Fencing Guild at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. And please, guys, like this video, share it around. Learn how to use spears, axes, and swords in a melee with big stumpy robots. Who I would not advise about taking hand weaponry against mecha, but I suppose it's better than having nothing. I mean, it worked for the Ewoks. Every Friday night, catch me being amusing and amazing on the station at this time, and support my efforts to teach people to be dangerously safe, to be dangerous safely. That's the Patreon. Cindy's not just a fan; she's a member as well. That's why her name comes up on the scroll. If you want your name on the scroll at the bottom, join up today for as little as $1 a day. $1 a month. I'm sorry. Although I will take $1 a day, and I won't bat an eye, friends, because that's the money I use to buy trainers and maintain and upgrade the list field, which has to happen again due to some cataclysms. But that's okay. Check out Nick's art at nickt.deviantart.com. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my old link before they made me reverse it. deviantart.com/NickT. After 20 years, the old name sticks a little bit sometimes. And we're also joined by Foxy. Hi, Foxy. Good evening. And yes, don't forget to like and slay the algorithms. Alex said, I forgot this tab was open. I got so scared once I heard Nick's voice. Oh, I'm sorry, Alec. I should have used my radio voice. I should have kept the mojo in the dojo just to keep things smooth. But I don't usually do that on that channel. On this channel, I usually keep things pretty bouncy. Foxy giggles. Did he get you, Alec? Oh, yes, I am only slightly sobbing. Joke. Only slightly. Oh, no. Don't cry for me, Alex Creations. The truth is, you're not old enough for me to train you yet. But once you hit 18, we'll put a sword trainer in your hand, and life will be awesome. At least you didn't come on in with a shout, no, that's my morning show. Yep, I would have fell out of my seat. Interesting. I had this tab open, but didn't start the broadcast while I was in another tab. That happens too. Chicken taco and stream tonight. Yummy and fun. Ooh, chicken tacos are good. I actually had pizza today. Because the plumbers were here, I went out and I got a Hawaiian pizza and took Xander around and we did some shopping. And I got to expand my totally gratuitous Nerf gun collection by, spending about $5 at Goodwill and getting a fully kitted out Nerf Strife. Yes. Sorry. That is not for this show, but I do love geeking out over Nerf. That's what happened to me in the past too, Cindy. I will have the tab set, but not start the broadcast until I'm actually on the tab. Happens to me sometimes too. Eep. Oh no. Hi everyone. Says John. Never mind. He went full drizzt. I'm out of here. Look. Johnny, as an edgelord, you have to appreciate. I could have said I went full Kirito, but I'm not stupid enough to let my waifu get run away with by freaks. Oh yeah, I'm busting you out, Kirito. Beater, chicken dinner. Anyway, LOL. Hello. You, what's that remote? That's just laughing real hard. Emote. Imperfect pronunciations won't offend me. Don't take it too seriously. I've actually been trying to work around my. I looked up the pronunciation of your name. I was going to do it as a surprise, and I did not expect to be recovering from a severe allergy attack. So my speech impediment is being really bad right now. But I want to because I respect you as a person, and names have power and names have meaning. So I will try to do the best I can. But thank you for your understanding. I have the same problem with dust. I break out in sneezing fits and hives, makes living in the desert very interesting. I don't take too much seriously. I love Goodwill. At least the stuff you can find there. The stuff you can find there, at least. Oh yes. I've been a proper Goodwill gatherer for a very long time. Occasionally, you can find sport goods related to what we do: fencing masks, padded gloves, things like that. It's all a matter of checking, early and often, much like voting in Chicago. But that's an old joke. It's a terrible joke. But excuse me. But I have found some stuff in the past that has been able to be of service to me, or has been something that I could take apart and make things out of. I've made several bucklers out of pan lids that I got at Goodwill, or other things with handles that I've been able to give away because it cost me very little, and in time and parts to acquire something that I could use as a training aid or something. Back in the era when I was using a lot of bucklers, like this one that was made for me by my old sword instructor, my original sword master, Aidan McDougall, aka Dennis Yucks, who I learned a lot from. We just had some off the field falling outs. But making something simple like this should only cost a couple bucks. It's just literally a round wood with a handle that's been attached and raised, and then this is a piece of leather cut out with room to wrap around and a whole lot of upholstery tacks, and I believe adhesive as well. This has served me very well. It is a very nice little buckler, and despite its diminutive size, a small buckler like this can serve you very well. Things like this are great for people who, 1 second. There we go. That should fix that problem. Who, again, have weight limitations. I have put tubing around the heavy stock pot lids that they used to sell at Gordon's, and people were able to use those as a simple buckler. By keeping your mind flexible, you can make a lot and you can have a lot. It's just a matter of right time of year, flexible minds. If you want to make boffers, this is the time of year to do it because all the summer stuff is going on clearance. So if you were interested in boffer making, now is a great time to acquire some pool noodles and make, get some duct tape and PVC and make simple boffers for light training. Do not go harder with a boffer than you would with a training sword against somebody on padding. The idea of the padding on a boffer is not to allow you to hit harder, it's to make how you hit naturally safer. Because boffers can be terrible for calibration if we're not careful. If you say you'll go full Corito, I'm out of here for real. I know I would never go full Corito. I have far too much personality to go full Corito. Wow. Plus, I don't live that harem lifestyle entirely much anymore. And let's see, thrift stores are awesome. Never know what you're going to find. Exactly, especially in a college town. That's part of the reason why I have such a luxurious Nerf collection these days, because I can find Nerf blasters very cheap. And I found a couple that I've been looking for years that for a while could not be had for anything like reasonable money. And Cindy says, you mean the ICMAC? ICMAC? Yes. I mean that. There aren't really Goodwills out here. They have the Mormon version, Deseret Industries, aka DI. While I am not in any scope of the Mormon faith, and I will not, discourage people of different religions. That's not what the show is about. I do admire the cultural preparedness and thrift that group tends to encourage. And yeah, I bet one of those is just amazing. I found a lot of things over there in the years. I bet. Yes. Cindy Cap, next June, I'm planning to compete in the International Chinese Martial Arts Championship. Sifu suggested I could do well in Wasin, Cloudy Fan form, Wu style form that crosses, and I'm going to have to bounce a bit to, okay, she hasn't done the second part. But, and we've got my rule with boffer is you go as hard as and fast as the person you're sparring with. Matching the speed of your opponent. Wait, hold on. I want to go back to this because that's what you're saying is going to make a whole conversation. But next June, Cindy Cap is planning to compete in the International Chinese Martial Arts Championship. Sifu suggested I do well in the Wasin fan form, Wu style fan form that crosses the line into Ping Jiao Pai, Eagle Kung Fu. I might also compete in Wu style Tai Chi, either a piece of the slow form, Ga Gi, or the fast form, Gun Chen, Chuen, Gun Chuen, or as close as I can do. That is incredible. We are completely here for you. I hope you get some video that maybe you'd be willing to let us show. Now, I want to acknowledge hi, Joe, bye, Joe. Thank you for the videos, Joe. As soon as I figure how to get them off of there and onto my normal computer, I will do so. Thus far, my computer said no. And I did not have time today to review it, so I will do what I can. But leaves an apple on the desk. I like apples. He means the fruit, not a computerized device, because he knows better than that with me. And teleports back out. Well, it was good seeing Joe when he came. Oh God, I'm gonna hear about that remark later. But I thank you for everything you do. Hi, Joe. Bye, Joe, says Alec. I'm not really a member of any faith they recognize, but I love finding cheap wins. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I understand that. Good job, Cindy. I'm sure you will be awesome. Good luck, Cindy. There's also a chance I might compete in fixed step push hands if I can get decent at it by then, and they have a weight class for 110-pound squirrels. Well, Cindy, just remember I'm 3 times the weight you are, so never feel bad about it. Thanks. If you want to play the videos tonight, we can play them without the sound. No, well, I'd rather wait and keep it safe. I can leave a certain colored room and hop in the studio. Joe, enjoy the colored room this week. Next week, tell you what, we will plan to have it all set up by next week to show the videos without sound, and maybe we can do commentary. Because I think there's a lot to be shown and discussed in those videos, and frankly, I am shocked by how well I was able to hold up. I mean, I expected Trelina to do well. She's incredible. But both you Trelina, and myself held up incredibly well. Richie was able to do some stuff. He's got a long way to go, but he knows that he's on a journey of recovery. So there's a lot of the mind is willing, but the body isn't able right now. And that's okay. That's part of building up. Hopefully, by the end of September, we'll have a couple practices on our belt. And by the time the unspeakable white stuff hits the ground, we'll definitely be able to do more. That is my fond hope. But Joe, enjoy the certain colored room. Give my love to those rampant goofballs, and let me know how outside how things are doing. But okay, let's get into some commentary. One thing that I've been asked to do videos on is staying away from the creeps. That's literally word for word one of the videos. Now, as I can go downstairs now, and as I've proven due to some disaster that I can, no problem. I will try to be here next week. See you later, folks. I don't want to. Yeah, thank you. I don't want to inconvenience Joe without planning any more than I have to. Staying away from creeps was deliberately asked. And that was asked by Cindy Kett. She'd like a video on it. And while I'm not prepared to do a full dissertation, demonstration, etc. video on that yet, I do intend to do a recorded video on that subject. But when we are sparring, there are certain things I tend to teach. And one of the things Ooh. One of the things I will be, uh, I teach is the "you are never unarmed" mentality. And the idea of "you are never unarmed" is, unless you are basically stripped naked in a uh, open back rooms style area of, just a barren open field, there is always something that can be used to facilitate you. Um, Part of it, as I suspect our dear friend Cindy is going to be deep diving, is the gentle application of your opponent's energies to directions other than yourself. E.g., my favorite thing in the world being a very well placed hip toss. I don't talk about open hand stuff very often, but I am very, very fond of applications of the hip toss. It makes me happy. I've had to do that many a time and combined it in a controlled manner to disarm or relocate excessively aggressive individuals into soft areas where they are unhurt but also disengaged from me. Things like this, or put in a position where I can catch them and then put them into a hold for medical necessity as a transition. They are so even your enemy is a weapon in your arsenal. Um, but getting back to it, one thing I teach people is to know where the sun is. We learn where the sun is while we're sparring, because if you fight anyone who is trained with me for any real length of time, they will turn your face into the sun every chance they get. We are ornery and we are underhanded in this little school when it comes to such things. What does that have to do about keeping away from creeps? Well, staying away from creeps requires situational awareness. Um, and training in a proper list field gives you as a fighter, a very controlled area of which to be aware. It's just you, your opponent. Where are the edges? Where is anything that's in the list field to confuse things, and anything affecting the list field? That being light, where the marshal is, where's the exit? A lot of times, if I have a big enough list field, I'll add scenarios where being able to understand that. To do that, you have to stay engaged with your surroundings. This is good practice. So the first step, friends, colleagues, this is my phone. It has my favorite card, the Fencing Ace, but it has the wrong quote on the bottom. And it has a sticker that was given to me by Alex Creations. But the first step in staying away from the creeps is this thing. If you are in the public, the only time you're using it is in short bursts after you've verified that you have space and safety to use it. You are not using this driving. Hands-free conversation is one thing, but you are not texting while driving. I don't want any of my friends dying, so I take it deadly serious. You see the people walking around. That person has no idea what's going on in the universe. That person is set up to make poor life choices. It's real easy. If you are out in public, the vast majority of us have been taught not to walk around with a book open while you're walking down a busy street. Okay? You just don't. Why? Because you need to watch where you're going. The phone is just a book of infinite pages and sparkly lights. No. Step 2 is very similar to step 1. We all love our music. But don't have your earbuds in. If you have your earbuds in, they better be low enough where you're hearing the world around you. Because this is the chief thing that distracts everyone I know. Okay? Everyone I see out in the public, that's the chief thing that's going to be distracting them. Now, most of you guys are a little more alert, but I have to check and start from the ground up. So we are not artificially distracting ourselves. The next step is the world is full of women in red dresses. I am stealing this shamelessly from The Matrix because it's a great bit. It's a great bit of mental martial arts. If everybody, everybody's looking at the woman in the red dress, they don't see what's coming. You have to be aware. Now, I take it a bit farther to the point where I have refined a type of slightly hypervigilance. And I'm seeing some great comments in the chat, but I'm going to keep going because of what we need to say, and I have to stay basically on track. If everyone is looking at something, you need to be looking where they aren't. Why do I say that? One, pickpockets love crowds. The other thing they love more is a distracted crowd. Think like you're watching a magic show and you're trying to figure out how the trick is done. Don't look at the pretty lady. Don't look at the hand that's waving over here. In fencing, in bouts, I will do things, and I've taken this from my less than noble first instructor. I learned a lot from him. He was just a swine dog. I'll be like, don't look at the thing, don't look at the thing. And when they look at the thing, you stab them. That's called negative reinforcement. Don't look at this. Don't look. Because if everybody's looking at whatever the shiny, bouncy object is, bam. If possible, you want to blend in as much as possible to your surroundings. You don't, and I'm not saying you want full predator camouflage, although I'll be honest, there are a lot of times I wouldn't mind that. I mean, if you're going to a place where everyone is dressed in all black and, has band t-shirts and chains on, might not be a bad time to pull out a Slipknot shirt and throw it on. You want to blend in. If for some reason you can't, you want to do the opposite. I walk with a cane. That makes me stand out. I'm aware of this. That labels me as weak. I can disguise it a little bit. I can fake how I walk to walk better. And a lot of times I will change the way I walk for short distances if I don't like what's going on. But I know I'm walking with a cane. Fine. That's why I like to walk with a walking stick, about 4 feet long, or 4 to 5 feet long. Basically somewhere between a Joe and Bo staff. Yes. Because now that bothers people. That bothers troublemakers because they don't like the big stick. Don't feel bad about it, Alec. The cane says that's part of why I wear my knife like I do. My knife is literally glow-in-the-dark, bright green on Day Glow. I wear a neck knife because my hands won't always let me reach in my pockets, and I cannot articulate folding knives on a bad day. I always gear and train with the mentality of building from A bad day. What does a bad day look like for me? A bad day looks like for me, I get my flippers back because the nerves have been impinged, and these fingers won't work separate and they shake. A bad day is I need my cane, and I have to walk very carefully. So, if I'm dressed bright, yeah, everybody notices me. The problem with everybody noticing me is everybody notices me. It means if anything happens to me, everybody's already looking. If I can't be a toad, I'm going to be a poison dart frog. Nothing in between. Other thing, tactical friendliness. Look people in the eye. Don't be afraid to have a dumb. Hi, you see somebody who's looking at you, and you've had that moment. Compliment a memorable detail about them. I really like that spider tattoo on your neck, man. That looks awesome. Because that will tell any criminal worth their salt that you have means to identify them in a lineup. This is a deterrent. The knife bothers people. The bright colors bother people. But I don't put my back to open spaces. That's why I literally, when I set up, originally I put a desk on that back wall. And I have a computer that's set up there, and there's an outlet. It was great. I couldn't do it. I was anxiety ridden every time I'd come in here and work because my back was to the door. In my own home, but this is how I was trained to survive. The other things, avoiding the creeps, you have to identify the creeps. How do you do that? I will tell you a great secret. A lot of people don't believe it, but Sesame Street taught me one of the greatest survival techniques ever, and most people don't realize it. They used to do a thing, what's wrong with this picture? Or one of these things is not like the other. Train yourself not only to see patterns, but to see anomalies. And if you do it frequently enough, if you play that game, these mental engagement games, and I play a lot of them, how many doors are in this building? What's the best way out? If you are developing this, you start to have an ability to your subconscious will catch something before your conscious does. And the trick is, and I will say this, when you're sword fighting and you're tangled up, or somebody's in a stance you don't like, or anything just feels squicky wrong, I say, when in doubt, get the heck out. And usually the slightly less edited version. That's one of the biggest things in life. Anytime. I've gotten to the point where I can predict traffic wrecks pretty well. I can feel the likelihood by the way the flow of traffic is. In fact, today, I was out with Xander, and we were trying to come back, and everybody was very, very busy because I did not know we were in a narrow window of housing assignment in Purdue. I was in Lafayette, Indiana, where Purdue is, in West Lafayette. They're side by side. And so a lot of people were out shopping. There was a lot of preparation for the coming thing. It was very buzzy. I don't like that. People were driving around and they're distracted. Distracted people are dangerous. They're almost more dangerous than people with malicious intent. So you have to be aware for them as well as yourself on the road and on foot. But when you have the awareness Your goal is always to catch whatever the threat is as far out as possible. This is why there's a whole list of holidays I'm a homebody for. And, or I'm visiting somebody, but once I get there, it's like I'm staying the night. We've already made arrangements. I'm not going out on this. Because you can look at the statistics. You're more likely to get in a wreck on a Friday or Saturday night than other times of the week. Things like that. You're more likely to get in a wreck near your home. Well, that one just makes sense because every trip you take, you're near your home. So it just becomes a increased mathematical odd. But what you're doing is you're taking your instincts and honing them with reason and deduction. So you recognize the creep. Now, there are many good ways to deal with the creep. One is I'm not out alone. Now, a long time, it's kind of funny because I'm a dad. I go out with my son. And for a long time, we had, right before we had left Michigan City, we had a couple scary things where, he was somebody and he still is someone I'm tactically protecting. However, my son is also now nearing 6 feet. And that makes people uncomfortable. Height intimidates. So I've had just Xander's presence derail people where they don't realize which one of us is the threat. You know what I'm saying? Don't go places alone unless you have to. And if you are alone, it is your duty to defend yourself and see the threat coming. Now, there will always be the potential for mistakes, or situations will change dramatically. It can happen to anybody. It happens to me. This is where mental flexibility kicks in. The realizing as soon as possible and now having a series of plans in place. If you are alone and there is a creep, there's somebody who you feel is approaching you with a detriment, do not engage. The rules of engagement are thus. There are 2 grand rules of engagement. You do not engage the enemy without either overwhelming force or no other option. I want to say that again. Do not engage an enemy without overwhelming force or no other option. That's one you write down. Jot that down memory. I am told that this is cowardice. I'm okay with that. Call it cowardice. When you've analyzed violence, when you've been through violence, when you understand the concepts of violence, and not in the streets is a very different kind of violence than in a on a training mat or in a ring or in a list field, because in the ring, on the mat, in the list field, that's consensual. That is consensual violence. I go onto that list field and I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to learn. I want to see if we want to see who's better at the moment, who can learn what. We want to have that physical conversation. It may involve pain, hopefully without damage, but it's consensual. Everybody going in knows what's going on. There's a third party to intervene if things go wrong. That is one thing entirely. In any other situation, your goal is to de-escalate and escape as much as possible. And the de-escalate can be done through active or passive means. So active de-escalation is, hey man, Let's talk about. Look. I don't want any trouble. Oh, somebody goes, "Are you looking at my woman? Is that Mildred? I'm sorry, ma'am. Is your name Mildred? Did you go to LaPorte High School in '98? You look like my friend Mildred." And no. Oh, well, I'm sorry about the inconvenience. Can I get you a drink, or, I can. I'm sorry. I'll just be going. Something like that. Now, see, you have to be careful because Cindy makes the penultimate run away, but you have to be careful. And the reason we have to be careful is predation instinct. There are individuals in this world who do act like animals. They are people who the situation has gotten so bad that they have devolved, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently, but they are functioning on a based instinctual level. It is quite frightening. So one thing you want to do is evade, escape without looking too much like prey. It's the difference between calmly swimming away when you see that there's a shark in the water and splashing and panicking when you see a shark in the water. It can be counterintuitive, but you have to escape calmly. And the trick is what makes an escape. I've had women come up to me and start having conversations with me that I have no idea who they are. And I'm always polite and friendly because that they're looking for a male to demonstrate to someone around them that they aren't alone. It's happened multiple times. I hope it happens too. Now, see, that's where we're going to get. I'm looking forward to getting into this part because I'm going to bring that comment back up. That's if you can't. If you can avoid most predators, and you have to think like predators. I'm not trying to dehumanize anyone, but if people are acting like wolves, you have to think like you're dealing with wolves. You don't want to go somewhere dark. Don't go places where you don't have a lot of exits. Don't go places where you're by yourself. You have to realize that human predation exists. Okay? And last time I looked at it, the number of unsolved missing people, when they factor in just about everything that they can factor, is about the number of losses taken in any prey species to predation. It balances out very well. You want to prevent the conflict. If you can't prevent the conflict, you want reasonable means to make it not worth their time if you can. Absurd means, start coughing violently. Make yourself seem like you are ill. People will avoid. If you can improvise, lie well. I've talked my way out of several conflicts. Cindy's talking about the wackadoos with knives that have approached her. And let's see. Run away unless you can. And I'm jumping way ahead. The two times I was confronted by a large dude with the knife, I couldn't run away. I was cornered. First time, there was nothing to grab. I stood and stared. The second time, the guy confronting me was when I was standing next to my fencing gear. I recently finished a set of parry drills so my foil and main gouge were on top. He stepped closer to the hilt, and I dropped to crouch and grabbed my foil. Both times the knife guy, the dude threw the knife at the ground in front of me and left. And then I told you all about the recent misadventure at the mall. I would be concerned about why you're where you are in places to encounter such creatures. Not that it's in any way fault yours, but it might be a situational thing. Part of it is simply a woman alone is vulnerable and perceived as vulnerable, and maybe prey to certain monstrous people out there. So the best thing you can do is to avoid it. If you can't avoid it, projecting insanity works. I love Gomez Adams, Austin. I can't remember if that's his first name. God, he's one of my favorite actors. My mind blanked, but he had that really wild look. Because I will tell you something. I've known bad dudes, and I'm okay. And other bad dudes don't usually scare bad dudes. Crazy scares bad dudes, and sometimes crazy will just work. Talking to yourself, making a whole thing about it. But if it comes to physical altercation, you don't want to fight. But if you fight like you're the third monkey on the bridge and on the bridge to Noah's Ark, and brother, it's starting to rain. The trick is, if you have the skill sets, equipment, or otherwise, do what you have to do, but always keep control, because you need to break off your attack as soon as escape is a viable option and escape. You have to do minimum damage because it's so easy. Humans are remarkably resilient, but also devastatingly fragile. So, what happens is a sudden, dramatic escalation of force. As soon as that line crosses, you can't ramp up. You can't hesitate. You have to go. Do whatever you have to do to get them off you, and then get out of there. If that's viable. There are bad guys who will do bad things to you in this world. I mean, we're talking real world stuff. And the thing is, unfortunately, tragically, sometimes we have to do things in response. And anytime actual violence is applied, even for good reason, you're going to carry that with you forever. I have come close several times to very, very bad odds. And a couple of them, I was fortunate at the time to have the equipment on me, the reflexes to deal with it, and the control to not follow through when I didn't have to. But it's that bit of realizing there's a bit of monster in you too, and it's necessary. It's tragic that it is. but it's far better to avoid it. And if it's repeating, you need to think why, and then try to escape whatever the danger is. Now, Cindy says something about the first two I'll have to tell you about later. I understand it's complicated. It was a situational thing, and I was not in a safe environment. I'm not clear of that problem. And the most recent, the mall can be a little weird. And yeah, I was walking by myself, and being a little scrawny twerp means my jerk magnet is more powerful than my jerk detector. There are some truths to that. Unfortunately, because of what I have been through and what I do, I have what I call, kind of refer to as predator vision. It's like I can smell the same blood in the water from somebody who's hurt and needs help as the predators can smell for somebody who's hurt and is vulnerable. And rather you are clear of the problem with the knife wielding dude. I'm glad to hear that. So I can see people go, oh gosh. Now I've known some, and sometimes the simple matters just don't go out alone. And it's not right. It's not fair. It's not what our nation or world should be. There's no reason why a woman shouldn't be safe going anywhere she wants to. There's a reason where I was a little twerp. Cindy just talks about, I used to be built a lot like Cindy, believe it or not, before I got kind of fat. Okay, before I got extremely fat. But she says something here. I want to talk about it. She says, most recent, the mall can be a little weird. And yeah, I was walking by myself, and being a scrawny twerp means my jerk magnet is often more powerful than my jerk detector. This is where discernment and vigilance come into play, because there are creeps who will follow you around. The problem is trying to figure out motive. And those of us who have endured things can, as part of the trauma, jump straight to, oh my God, they're going to try to put me in the back and sexually assault me, when it may in case be a man or a woman. And I say that from experience on having both attempt such things. They may just really be attracted to you and ask your number, and it's creepy, but it isn't quite as malicious. It's hard to read. So you have to be aware. And the best thing I can say in situations like that, especially a mall is a great place, because if you're in a mall and you're a woman and you feel you're being pursued by someone, go into a shop that men don't usually go into, something like a Victoria's Secret. What you can do is very easily just ask a worker there. You'll say, there's a guy following me. I'm trying to get away from him. Can you call security? And a lot of times they'll let you just hide out in a changing room for a while. I know it can be done. I was being pursued by a gentleman who had a great deal of malice in his heart, and I lost him in the ladies' underwear, and I informed the store cop that I happened upon that there was a weirdo in the ladies' underwear department. Well, how did you find him? Well, I've been married forever. I was looking for something for my wife, and I hear this guy breathing heavy in there. I don't know. There were little kids around. Is that malicious? Yeah. Is it deceptive? Yeah. I mean, he meant to do harm to me, but that was a different situation. But did it get the results of me being safe and able to leave? Yeah. He was found to be carrying a very large shall we say, ritual dagger. I had problems with some people for a time. We can talk the physicality, and the physicality is out there, but a lot of self-defense is actually power fantasy. I hate to admit it, but a lot of it is. And I would advise training in any aid you're using, training in situational and tactical awareness. They are similar, but not quite the same skill sets. A lot, just practice your vigilance. Just practice cold reading people. Practice honing what your gut says about things. And just think, don't be afraid to go somewhere and think, if I was a bad guy, what would I do? People don't want to think that way. But, yeah. And I don't like going alone places. I'm a 40-year-old man. I've been shot at and missed, pooped at and hit. And I don't like going alone places. I go out with my son, and I love going out with my son more than anything. Or going out with my wife. When we're all as a unit, that bothers people. People don't like a unit, especially since at least two of us are very aware of our surroundings. I'm more aware of our surroundings than Mandy is, but she's still no slouch. Of course, when I'm around people that I know I'm going to be around with, if somebody makes me a little uneasy, I am totally fine with accidentally dropping something so that there's a loud noise, just to see who reacts what way. I don't often do it anymore, but that's something I used to do. I loved any excuse to drop a large metal platter and watch who went where and where their hands went. You learn all sorts of fascinating things. But observation is a skill, and it can be developed and it can be honed. Deduction is a skill that can be developed and honed. As a bizarre function I have found, people who are physically weaker often are rather intelligent. I'm not saying more intelligent than others, but I'm saying rather intelligent or very personable. Alec has some stories about being out with their brother, I think, around here, and I think I lost it because of the scroll, but didn't realize he was intimidating. Amanda had a gentleman who was being very creepy indeed to her at the library, and her friend adopted little brother, if that makes sense, Jonathan Minor, his youngest son, that I know of anyway, was still well over 6 foot, covered in spikes and, goth scene chains and all that fun stuff, which that is not me being derogatory, because it's a wonderful fashion statement. It might not be mine, but it's a wonderful fashion statement. He came in and kind of growled at the guy who was giving her flack. And then when that wasn't sufficient, I had words with the gentleman. And what it was that was a gentleman with a bit of a fetish towards librarians. Any librarians. It was problematic, but it was handled. There's no shame in Mandy having someone handle that. There's no shame in calling the either police or security at a site and asking for an escort. There is no shame in that, because at the end of the at the end of the day, everybody wants to go home. Well, all the good people want to go home. They want to see everybody have a good time, usually. Either you'll go to the store, buy some stuff, have a good time, go home. Go to the mall, go to the concert, go to the bar. I will say a huge number of problems happen around alcohol. And I will unapologetically state that alcohol is pursued, and the people around places where it's pursued statistically are every kind of trouble. It just happens. One of the best ways is to avoid that sort of thing. But there are different things. Alex says, yeah, I've been there a few times with people in all bleh. I'm still grateful my brother to this day for unknowingly getting me out of situations. It's scary just going out as me without going out with a cisgender person. I sometimes feel unsafe because with two obvious trans people, it could lead to a bigger problem. Has happened before. Yes. So numbers aren't always sufficient. Sometimes if you're a person of color, you're women, you're trans, or you're able, overtly showing a religion that is outside the norm of the area, because that depends entirely on where you are, and we do have international viewership, so you have to be different. Different is a great word, Alec. If you want something that breaks up the group just a bit, and if you are multiples out, you need to be aware. And it's tragic. I don't agree that you should have to, but you do. Everybody does, because anybody can become the victim. There's always a bigger fish. One of my favorite stories I heard was a gentleman who was a very prolific mugger. And what he had a very simple MO. He was a very large, very powerful man. And yes, he was black, but that part has little to do with the situation. And what he would do is he was strong enough that he could reach over, hit the stop button on the elevator, pick somebody up, hold them up, usually one-handed, and say, give me all your money. And they would comply because they didn't want to get hurt. Occasionally he had to get physical and had a tremendous physical advantage, and then would get the money that way. Then he stopped. And the reason he stopped was he was in Seattle. And a little, very well-dressed, barely 5 foot tall, redheaded guy, he says, gets in the elevator with him. A little suit and tie, just standing there very proper. Well, I'm pretty sure he wore a bowler hat in the story. And the guy turns around, he goes, picks him up, says, give me all your money. And the guy pulled a 45 and stuck it right under his nose and said, look, I'm here on business to do somebody who needs doing. I'll do you if I have to. And said formerly professional mugger, you set him down, went like this. The little guy pushed the bar, went up to his house, did whatever he was doing. The mugger did not stick around. He's like, don't be here when I get back. There is always a bigger fish. And I tell that because that does happen to them eventually. There's a bigger fish or they have a bad day. But for you guys, and for all of us, especially people who stand out a little bit, the necessity is to be aware and to train yourself. And I hate it, guys. And part of what I hate about it is there isn't a word for it, because the word that would be closest to it by literal meaning would be homophobia. But in my generation, there was a fear of being perceived as gay. And that's not having any problem with gay people, but a fear of being perceived as gay, because that, if you ever were perceived as gay, whether you were or not, you would be subject to the horrors that gay people went through. And it wasn't as nuanced as, things weren't as nuanced as they are now. Because one thing is, and it's a little off topic, but I don't want to end on a grim note. People are getting much better. It's not perfect by any way, shape, or form. There's still a lot of cruelty and idiocy. But among the young people, I find they're getting better. It was, insults of our generation. That's so gay, you are gay. But of course, if they decided you were a more derogatory term for being gay, that would subject you are now a victim of savage beatings. I drew flowers. I liked to draw flowers. That was enough. That was enough to earn me a beating and a concussion or two. Daily beatings, I had a crush. I had that kind of mid high school crush on a black girl. She was a friend, and I think she's an acquaintance of mine still. We haven't talked in a long time, but that was enough for some, and just savage. So there are, for some of our generations, a fear of being perceived as that. And what I'm seeing now is a lot more acceptance than there was of exploration of identity and such. And the more we culturally can accept people for who and what they are, what religion they believe, who they find attractive or none at all, things like that, how they feel they manifest physically, the more we can learn as a culture to accept that. And the more we do, the less and less of the predators can use that as a means of attack. And I see, when I go to the teen programs, it's not perfect, but it's so much better than it was. Now, they may be behaving better at the library than they do in schools. I can't attest to that, but it's enough to give me hope that things can get better. And that's the other thing. There is safety in numbers, but be wise in what numbers you select. Surround yourself with good people who want to build you up, who care about you, who you care about. Support. And from there, you'll get strength. And there's nothing wrong with a bunch of you learning martial arts and strategy and tactics and going as far down that rabbit hole as you feel comfortable going down. And the more light we can be, the smaller the dark places where predators can hide and thrive will be. And from that is a lot of hope. But I will tell you this, I won't lie, there will always be predators. And in other places of the world, the evil can walk much more openly. And places in our nation where evil can walk openly. And the best way to avoid to be victorious against it, the best way to stay away from it, is to acknowledge that that's out there. Don't let it terrify you. Don't let it steal your joy, but be aware it's there. We have coyotes. We have coyotes out in the corn. I know this. There's at least a large pack roaming around. I am not terrified of that. I'm not sitting in my home peering out the windows or keeping the windows shut, just bottled up. But around dawn and dusk, if I'm out, I at least have a big stick. And I don't wander into the corner. And I know this is a very simple, silly way of taking it, but sometimes it's the easiest way to get a message in. Now, Alex says, and he's quoting an individual by their best friend, I can say with certainty that your purpose is far greater than being on this planet for other people when they need you. Your purpose goes beyond that. You're here because on this earth, something on this earth needs to change. I believe deep in my heart and soul that you could be the cause of it. That is poetic. And that is beautiful. I quite literally live to serve. And as such, and at least at different points in my life, I have a lot that I walk. A lot of the roads I walk are very liminal. That's why I've encountered so many things. I encounter things because I've gone places near the edge where things are. Because that's where the people that I'm drawn to are. The people I can do the most good with. I'm not a bright light. I'm a very dim light, actually. But that comes in very handy in a dark place. So I tend to be where I'm useful. Sometimes I like to take a break, though. And it's kind of funny that I live in a place that's so radiant, I can't stand it to be outside because it's so much brighter than is my natural being. But doing good for a specific individual and then doing good for prosperity. My speech impediment's got a hold of that word. For the future. That's the combination. You do good, you serve people, you listen, you learn, you study, you teach. Go at it long enough, you end up a philosopher. And then people will argue about it, but some people may catch the points you're trying to give. Let's see. That's really deep. I hope you can accomplish whatever you set your mind to. I have no doubt that Alec can. When I was managing the Buddha Texas World Vision Center, I tried to work as many closing shifts as I could. The gals working with me were single moms or moms of small kids. That is incredibly noble of you. There are reasons we get along. There are reasons why I specialized and preferred to work with the very behavioral clients. It was funny when you looked at the crew who worked with the behavioral clients. 5 huge dudes, 6 foot tall, brawny, and then me. I was quite a bit thinner then. I was about 100 pounds lighter, probably. But, yeah. And I had one new manager come in, because they'd come in. Why are you here? And ask the big guys, is there any reason why? Should there be any reason why? No, he does his thing. I'm here because I can. I still remember walking around the Ren Fair this year with my blunt green destiny at the park around the other weird folks. I didn't get many looks, but walking to the park was a different story. Now, there's a wonderful book. I think the first one in the series is called Taltos. And it's Taltos and Jerrig, and it's spelled very strange. But one thing said, why are you carrying a weapon? If you go out carrying a sword that they can see, you're going out saying something. Be careful what you say. But then again, I go out carrying a small knife that I've adorned with my meds and my sticker. There's a lot of thought to this because this is a tool. That's the real hanger up. I don't ever want to use this as a weapon because it would be very, very. I'd have to be in close and a lot of bad things. This is a tool I use to open up food packages. I mean, really. Because I can't articulate scissors when my hands aren't working. When I could actually just do this, grab the plastic stab and push away from myself and open things. There were times in my life where that's the only way I could get at certain kinds of food. But it does act as a deterrent. However, it also acts as an invitation for some folks. And the ones it acts as an invitation for can be very problematic. Let's see. And I decided they needed to be their homes dealing with their kids as much as possible, scheduled closings. Made other managers and I was happy because it was a bad precedent or whatever. They needed to be with their kids. 1 second, please. Just 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. The problem with that is Buda, Texas is not a terrific part of Austin. In the evenings, I was alone in the Vision Center. Good night, Alec. Have a good night, and I hope you sleep well. These guys would stop 2.5 sheets in the wind with the 6-pack in hand, finish the job. Their Settles freight train looked at my left hand, started smiling, telling me their entire story. I met 4 guys who swore they were the youngest buck sergeant in Vietnam. I don't know what a buck sergeant is, but okay. My dad was a spook, but my stepdad was a jet mechanic. Great. These guys were my dad's age. After telling me more that I need to know about their, we'll say, supposed lives, they'd eventually asked me out when I got off to work so we could go get drinks. Invariably declined and very quickly said, I need to get home to my FID. FID's Feather Kid, E.G. Massacre the Wonder Bird, hoping they misheard it as kid. Yeah, there are some women I recommend just wear wedding rings. I don't wear my wedding ring. I don't. And some people have asked me about that. And the reason is very, very simple. But I regularly was getting it smashed on my hand. And after Amanda walked in, for those of you who haven't heard the story, most of you have, with me with my finger extended on the anvil, holding a chisel in my mouth, chinking away to flatten the ring out so I could get it off my finger. She said no, but I did notice something odd, and it's kind of hilarious. When I wore the wedding ring, and when I wear a ring, occasionally women of an age will flirt heavily and with intent with me. However, if I don't wear the ring, I'm completely unnoticed. It's really odd how our society works these days. One guy didn't get the point and hung around checking the TV display near the Vision Center. Came time for me to go. The security guy checking receipts at the door stopped me and asked if I drove myself. Yep. He told me to haul my butt to my car and get gone. He'd hold Casanova there as long as possible. That was a good guy. That's a good security guy. And that's what I believe. We are all gifted with strengths. Those of us who have a strength of intelligence should figure things out for those of us who don't and make life easier for them. Those of us who have physical strength should use that to help people, especially who can't. Those of us with financial strength should give to charities and support the people who haven't been able, maybe hire them, Those of us with strength of charm and wit, should use that for building people up and supporting folks and spreading messages that are uplifting. It doesn't always happen at all, but I think it should. Uh, my stepmom gave me my grandmother's engagement ring. I now wear it on my left hand. That curtailed the shenanigans from the youngest buck sergeants in Vietnam. Well, most of them anyway. I was walking from visiting Foxy one night at Camp Bar on the main drag. A woman came out, put her arm, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" Things like that. Yep, here we go. They were using you as cover to get away from somebody, weren't they? Yes, the security guy was a good dude. He often stationed himself close to the vision center to keep an eye on things. I'm glad to hear it. Ironically, the vision center I go to has one kind of squirrely lady, but and then the lady I usually see, who's a very stout Southern lady who I would fear. Apparently, she had a guy at the bar was bugging her and asking for a number and not taking no for an answer. So she told him she had a boyfriend, saw me, and decided I was safer. Yeah. Used to wear a fake ring for that too. Yeah. And see that it's horrible that you have to do that, but that is the kind of strategic thinking, folks, that can keep you alive. A little bit of preparation, you know? A little preparation goes a long way. Camouflage, exactly. It's camouflage or being a hoverfly. A hoverfly, you'll see them sometimes. They'll buzz around you because they want the assault in your sweat. But they're yellow and brown striped. They look like a bee. And I had to explain because my son's terrified of stinging insects, shockingly. And I'd explain that to him so he wouldn't be afraid. Camouflage or having something that acts as a deterrent does wonders. Now, Thesis is born a big guy. He is a deterrent from a certain class, but it's sort of like the T-Rex P in Jurassic Park 3. It keeps the little ones away, but attracts the big ones. Because there'll always be one kind of big, half-drunk moron who wants to throw a punch in the face of the biggest guy they can find. I walked her to the car while she told me all about the guy, and then she gave me a kiss on the cheek and thanked me for being a good guy. You were a good guy. And finding and associating with good folks, that's just good. Avoiding alcohol and the people around it, it's good. One reason I didn't want a medical alert was to avoid advertising that I was gimpy. Then I realized I really can't hide it anyway, so I found something that looked more like jewelry. That's, I use mine. It camouflages the knife because the people with good intent notice this. The people with bad intent notice this. And the cops notice this. Every time. This is what they think about first. And I tell them I'm diabetic. My nightly diabetic meds go in here. I can show them. But I'm also obvious, I'm old and I've been gifted with gray hair that has been here since I was 15. So at any point I look anywhere from my, some people allege my 30s. It's nice of them to say, I'm in my early 40s, but I can look 60. So around the right people, I can look very harmless very quickly. And around the wrong people, I look problematic. And the terrible thing is a lot of this advice boils down to making yourself not worth the effort, knowing that it will move on to somebody else. But guys, while this is a great conversation, it's one we need to have and more. My net is being rather unstable right now. I think there might be weather coming in, so I'm going to call it. I hope that addressed the question. I would. Um, I would like to revisit this a little bit more formally, but I think I've covered it. I hope it was helpful for you. Please share this around. And yes, I do need a snack. I need a snack. I've been taking periodic sips and such, but I do need a snack, so I will do that. And with that, guys, all I can say is do your drills. Keep your eyes open. Today's been a keep your eyes open kind of conversation. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, folks, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will be back next week at the latest on this channel for the Historical Fencing Guild to have more conversation and education. I hope to have more videos soon, weather permitting. It's been raining almost every other day again. And I will get the videos from Joe, and maybe we can get them subtitled or something and make them accessible. And if not, we'll just talk about what's going on. I think that could be a great thing. I'd love to get like Joe and Trelena, maybe even Richie, since he was there, for some to talk about what he's doing. We will see. But until then, guys, take care of yourselves. I love you.